let's talk about healthcare and life sciences. The pandemic modeling has been pretty chaotic, right? Especially when you compare to hurricane forecasting and all that. We've needed heroics to get PPE and ventilators, and the supply chain's been fairly broken. The staffing models, heroics to get people across state lines and so on. On the other hand, hospitals have done a remarkable job learning how not to overuse ventilators, how to expand ICU capacity in a couple of days and so on. How therapies like remdesivir from Gilead have kicked in and so on. So it seems like a best of times and worst of times, right? How would you score a performance? Clearly, and you haven't even talked about the vaccines and so on, right? Crap load of stuff going on.
I'm on the controversial side, and I'll put it out there. We didn't understand the etiology, which is really the underlying mechanisms of the disease, right? We didn't have enough understanding of what COVID-19 could do. The Chinese withheld that information from us. The scientists that were studying it aren't there. The dual-use lab in Wuhan that really should have had a lot of scientists coming out and talking about what they were working on, they covered that up. If we had known that, we'd have better understanding of what we could expect. Right. So I squarely put the blame on the CCP government in China for not sharing that. Now, there's those areas you have to be responsible as a country. And here becomes the very tough part, right? Public health messaging, for example, is part of it, right? You have to give clear guidance, but the problem is we are in a federal system. Right? It's a federal system. The president can't tell governors and counties what to do because it's not in the Constitution for health. They can suggest, they can beg, they can plead, they can provide resources. And from that perspective, I think, the federal response was great, but the messaging was bad and the examples were bad. Like, you need to wear a mask. No, I don't feel like it. You're covering it's my freedom of choice. Oh, but wait, you need to wear a mask. We did it the wrong way. What we should have said is wearing a mask is not about protecting you. Wearing a mask is being noble and protecting others. And if we would have started there, we wouldn't have the stupid mask debate, right? And then we got to this other debate. Do we open schools? Do we close schools? What are death rates? I had investors telling me, we're all going to die. Look at the death rate. If we trend this out, 600,000 people are going to die. And I'm like, hold on. This is an episodic event. This is not like a, completely... if you think about like heart disease, this is ongoing, right? It's not, once in a while, like a flu, right? And so you see like 680,000 deaths from heart attacks. You look there and you say, oh my God, that's a crisis. That's our number one source of deaths. Let's go fix that, right? This is something that has a slope, right? And we don't know. Like, I honestly can't tell if the lockdowns are helping or not. And you're seeing data start to come out that way. Maybe this thing took 5 months, and no matter what, it took 5 months. And so the questions we have to ask is the Swedish model better than the New Zealand model? Because they've exposed everyone. They messed up with seniors and migrant communities. They could have done a better job there. But the point being is they're now all exposed. So they can get back to work. New Zealand's got to wait and hope that, hey, did you get a vaccine? Does the vaccine work? Do we force everyone to take the vaccine? And how long is that vaccine going to be good for? So if we don't get to a vaccine by the end of the year, which I hope we do, and it looks like we're heading in that direction, New Zealand's kind of screwed, and same with Taiwan and same with South Korea. So it may be better to open it all up. So we don't know the answer, but we politicize that, and nobody was allowed to intellectually debate that. That was the problem here, right? Now, the pandemic response is kind of interesting. I know people had this scenario where the federal government and the states were competing to get PPE. And that is really weird, right? You saw the thing where 3M says, oh, we got tons of PPE, and then the distributors have it, and the state thinks they have a contract, and they get outbid by some country outside of the U.S., and they had to give it away. And you had this situation where, governors had to go bring their PPE. This happened in Massachusetts, right? It got taken away by the federal government, an order made by a hospital or by a state. The state then put their National Guard there, and there was a standoff between the National Guard and the federal government over their own PPE because people were stockpiling. But let's go back to the history. Those public health departments in every state, every governor underfunded it because they never thought a pandemic would happen, which is why they had nothing there. They had nothing. So they suddenly had this opportunity to stock up and stockpile. They stockpiled, hoarded, and then let the hospitals run a little dry, which was bad. right? That's what happened. And so when you look at all the different sides, you realize, okay, this is a mess. So we don't have a coordinated federal response because the federal government's job is not to do that. They can lead, they can plead, they can use the leadership quality, they can use the bully pulpit, but it's ultimately up to the governors and the counties to decide. We see this in California. Like Southern California schools are open because in Orange County, they're like, hell, we're not going to stand for that. They're like, we're opening our schools, we're opening our restaurants. You're not going to crimp my way of life, right? And so they forced Gavin Newsom in this weird situation. Orange County's like, fine, our county house said we're going to open. Their schools are open. The kids are going to school. I'm in Northern California. No, we can't do that. You know, every life is at risk. Well, it's true. Every life is at risk. There's a certain amount of mortal risk every day. We just don't have proportional response. And this goes back to your thing with the media. The media is not explaining proportional response, right? This is as bad as, and you list 7 things that could happen. You're more likely to hit by lightning than get coronavirus at this moment. You're more likely to get hit by a car when you walk out the door, right? If you do get it, it's going to be bad. We know it's going to be bad, so avoid it or, avoid your behavior. But we have not had that gradation conversation because it's shamed on. It's like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not educated. We can't have a dissenting point of view. We want to keep everyone locked down because it's the only way to do it. My life is more important than your livelihood. I mean, those are the weirdest discussions. I never thought we'd get to that in this country.
It is a shame, Ray, and we could spend hours on that. Maybe.
Yeah, let's move to the next topic. But there's a lot to debate, and I understand other people's viewpoints, and we really should keep seniors and at-risk people safe. This is the only time where we've really said, look, let's contain everybody instead of let's go keep the other people safe and live our lives.
That's one of the best things.
We don't know. There's 14 days. You don't know how long it's in you, right? You could be asymptomatic and not know. So I get it. I get all the arguments. I just wish we would have debated them.
Yep. That's one of the things Florida's done pretty well. We did shelter our elderly and long-term care facilities and so on, much better than New York did and a few others. But let's move on.
The villages had to vote. We can't take out the villages. So just kidding. So, anyways.
But the good thing about healthcare is it just seems like we have been willing to say, forget HIPAA. Telemedicine is important. Forget HIPAA for a while. My wife is a telemedicine. My wife does telemedicine. Yep.
She's licensed in 16 states, 9 on a temporary basis, 7 she's taken a test for to, do it the proper way.
But so, we've seen a lot of new entrants, right? Ventilators and so on. The good news is we have relaxed a lot of regulations.
Oh my God, amazing.
It's healthy.
That is amazing.
But we spend 1/5 of our GDP on healthcare. And we get a pretty shitty service for that.
But the rest of the world gets the rest of the world benefits from it. It's amazing for them.
Is it going to change here?
I think it's going to change. I think what's important, right? I know we're talking about supply chains in the back end, but look, I mean, if we can't produce our own aspirin, if we can't produce our own albumin, if we can't produce some of the basic things we need to go fight a disease, we're in trouble. As a country, you should be self-sufficient. You should never rely on a competitor, and even one that's I would say a competitor that wants to annihilate, our ability to be self-sufficient. You don't want that. I mean, that doesn't make sense. And so you got to have that self-capacity to be able to do that. The regulations that have gone away for now, the temporary emergency use authorizations that are going on with drugs. I mean, clinical trials in multiple work streams in parallel. That's awesome. I mean, that's what it should be, right? Phase 1 is going, you're prepping phase 2 before phase 1, you're prepping phase 3 in manufacturing, all in multiple work streams that are overlapping. You couldn't do that before because the government never made a commitment to a purchase. Once you make the commitment to a purchase, people are like, oh yeah, you're going to buy that? Sure, let's go do it. I will get that to you as fast as we can, safely as possible. Hopefully, we want to make sure that they're doing it that way. But now you can kind of change the way drug discovery works and drug delivery works and clinical trials and prospective trials now have a way, to get out there. So these things are amazing. And we're seeing, massive innovations in telemedicine, right? Robotic surgeries are being improved. People trying to figure out how you would do this, diagnostic tools, ambient sensors that are going, patches that you're wearing, the wearables are playing a role, right? And how you can do constant monitoring so that we can get out of the acute care business and get more into the preventative care business, right? So we can actually lower our healthcare cost structure.
So talking about bringing business back from hostile countries or comparative countries and so on, how do you see the manufacturing supply chain evolving? Because bringing it back means we need blue-collar workers here, which we haven't had much of. it means tier one, tier two suppliers, which we kind of decimated in the last couple of decades. Do you see any particular industries doing that better than others?
I think everybody's trying to diversify their supply chains, reduce the concentration in certain countries, China in a lot of cases here. I see some progress. I think people shouldn't be all rah-rah like, oh my God, the whole manufacturing sector is coming back. It is coming back, but if you used to have 100 jobs, there might be 30, right? A lot of the automation's coming into the new plants, right? So there's going to be jobs coming back, but not in the numbers people hope there would be. But the security of actually, manufacturing in the U.S. has a lot of appeal at this moment, especially for critical industries. We are entering, and we were such idiots to let China into the WTO without understanding their objective. Right? They're not playing by the same rules, right? We have this thing with TikTok. And it's like, oh, the president's being really mean to China. They're not letting us in, or we're not letting them in. Let's be honest. Google cannot compete in China. Facebook cannot compete in China. Amazon cannot compete in China. I have no idea how Apple's competing in China, but they're on that fine balance, right? It's not fair trade. There's no free market, right? So until they open up, there's no point of us opening up. We're just exposing ourselves to crap, right? And that ability to not, to actually have some levers left while we can negotiate, that's what's going on here, right? You don't want to be dominated in the Chinese system. The Belt and Road Initiative was designed to create dependencies. Hey, we're going to build this wonderful road for you. But by the way, you haven't paid us back, so we're going to leave our military here. Is that okay with you? Sure. Yeah. Help me get elected. Thank you so much. I mean, if we started doing that, holy crap, the rest of the world would be in trouble. I mean, where do the people come up with these ideas? Oh, they're going to normalize. They're not going to normalize. Why would they normalize? They love their system. They think their system's amazing. My friends who live in China is like, this is the best system ever. I'm like, you have no privacy. Ray, you don't understand. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I mean, you've given that up already. You're happy to trade your privacy for this. You're happy to trade your freedoms for this love life. I'm not. I'm still an American. I still believe in my rights. I still believe in Constitution. Like, who are these people? I mean, so it's kind of crazy.
Ray, I got you worked up about China. Let's talk about, you're such a positive guy. And I love meeting your parents and your kids at your events. I mean, they're there to cheer you on. It is so nice to see the family system that you have in your wife. Just wonderful. Tell me how you've stayed positive the last 3-4 months. Has it been the family? Has it been your faith? What has kept you optimistic? What has kept you positive?
It's humanity, man. I see the good in humanity. I mean, we have so much opportunity. I mean, our job is to lead, like whoever you are, you lead in your small way. If you lead a family, if you lead a small group, if you lead a small organization, our jobs is to really make the world a better place for the next generation. I mean, that came from my parents. I mean, they came here. My dad came from Taiwan with $50 and half a suitcase, right? I mean, he had a college scholarship to Montana State University. If he didn't make it, he wasn't going to make it, right? I mean, he fought for that. Right. My mom came here with an English degree and, her job was to go figure it out. I mean, they figured it out and their goal was, they only had one goal. And this is the immigrant mindset. I don't care what race. I don't care what culture. I don't care what religion. I don't care where you come from. Immigrants are a different breed. They come to make the world a better place for the next generation and for themselves. They come to pioneer. They have a very different set of values, right? They believe in working hard. They believe in thrift. They believe in making a better place. Not everyone does it, but when you can, I mean, and, my mom volunteered a lot, right? I mean, so we've always been exposed to that. And with our kids, it's the same thing. I mean, like, honestly, people ask me, do you have any help in your house? I mean, here's a funny story. I mean, yeah, I was cutting the lawn outside, and this is after, this is like 6-7 years ago. My dad was outside. He's been cutting lawn. He's got a big hat. People think it's a sombrero, but it's not. He's cutting the lawn in a wife beater and shorts, and that's fine. So he's done that for 4 weeks. I go back to cut my lawn, and okay, right away, my neighbor comes up to me and says, hey, can you cut my lawn? I'm like, no, but you can take the lawnmower if you need it. Here, I'll show you how to use it. He's like, no, can you cut my lawn? I'm like, I can't, but you can have the lawnmower. And then he goes back to me. He's like, do you want to check with the owner? I mean, if you start hiring folks to go cut the lawn, then your kids never learn how to cut the lawn, right? And you're like, okay, it's a bad time money value equation. I totally get it. But you have to lead by example. right? So we don't have anyone cleaning the house. Kids clean the house, right? We do our own lawn care. Like if it's something I really can't fix, like plumbing, like I don't want to mess with, fine, I'll go get a plumber. But it's building that self-sufficiency, right? And my kids are third generation. So by the time you get to third generation, it's a mess anyways. You're not fighting as hard unless you instill those values. And if your parents are lazy, your kids are going to be lazy, right? And so it's those little things so you got to lead by example. Like in our company, same thing. Like, everybody, we've been working from home for quite some time. And if I was depressed all day trying to figure out, holy crap, we're about to have the worst quarter ever in the company. If this thing all shuts down, no one's going to events, no one's speaking, right? That whole business has gone away. Live events are completely crushed. Like 50% of our revenue is at risk. If I walk around scared, there's no way you'd make it. Right? So it's like, here's what we're going to work on. So we jumped in and said, we're going to do the post-pandemic playbook. Let's figure out how to actually think this out. I'm going to build the model, template it. You guys build another template. Let's go out and talk about it, see where we are. Let's go reach out to our clients, see how they're doing, right? Don't sell. See how they're doing. See what they're going through. Have a conversation. We've been friends with these folks for so long. Understand where they are. Figure out where we can help. Sometimes we get paid. Sometimes we don't get paid. It's okay. Let's just get something in place. Let's work with everybody and make a change. And so I think it just comes from watching other leaders do that, watching other people handle that in crises, watching my parents, and it's just important, right? That's the goal. That's what we're here for.
Great. Very inspirational, Ray. So let's talk about the economy. How do you see it shaping up? Sharp V, a gradual U, a W spikes up and down, or an L?
We're going to be hearing a lot about K-shaped economies all week now because of a speech I got kicked off on for Fox Business today. Okay, so we do have to segment by industry and by companies. If you got a digital business model, you're going to keep taking market share and you're going to win. Right? The winner takes all market is there. That's why people are betting on big tech stocks. That's why people see the big tech movement. They're displacing industries because it works, right? And especially in a pandemic, they're the post-pandemic winners, right? A few companies got it. Walmart figured it out. Target, Lowe's, Home Depot, they figured out how to do it. But partly it was because the small guys were shut down by governors, right? I mean, so they had an advantage and they could take advantage of that. But they also had digital channels. So you have to give them credit for that. If you're in a model and if your economic model is built on density, you're kind of screwed, right? Revenue per, passenger, right? Let's cram as many people onto the plane. Live events. Let's get as many people into the stadium. Restaurants. Let's get like 4 turns for the day. That's in trouble, right? Anything built on physical density, you're in trouble at this moment. You've got to figure out the digital channels, the monetizations, the memberships. Now there's ways out of it. And so I think in the economy, I think there's a way to rebuild the economy. It's a great way. Cut regulations as much as you can, the red tape, inspire innovation and confidence, get the capitalist spirit out there, have a little bit of empathy as well, help others around you, but make sure that there's that innovation, that the producers, the people that are building businesses have a shot, right? Protect them. I'm going to say something political and I don't care, right? If you cannot protect a business in the middle of a riot, you should be fired. You should be fired as a politician, right? Those people have livelihoods online. They're hiring 6, 10, 20, 30 people. They're pumping taxes into the local economy. You have a basic obligation to protect people from rioters, from looting, and from that violence. If you don't have law and order, you don't even have a business, right? So we got to get that part fixed. And if you don't get that part fixed, not going to happen. All right. And then the last piece around the economy is we have enough money in the system. There's enough stimulus. I think the Fed did a good job of pumping that money in. But it's not even, right? We got to give people the opportunity to work. In California, we did the stupid things we need to get rid of the gig economy. Let's go after Uber and Lyft. I mean, it's hello, we're in the middle of the worst possible recession you could think of. And you don't want people to have a gig economy job to make some money on the side while they can? People need side hustles. They're trying to get ahead. You don't punish people who want a side hustle. You want to encourage entrepreneurship. You want to encourage that. Now I get it. They're not getting the full union benefits. They're not getting the full health care, but they've made a choice to say they don't want that. Give people choices and see what happens. Give people as many choices as possible and see what happens. And I think those opportunities have to be there. And I think the economy will fix itself. The economy will fix itself. We'll get back to another place. Is it going to look the same as before? Probably not. Are we going to see live events business, a $1 trillion business go away? Yeah. It might be 250, billion, right? In 5 years. Would ever get back to 1 trillion? Maybe, right? If we get a vaccine for all types of flus and, the all-in-one flu vaccine would be kind of cool. You keep seeing that on TV. But the point being is we can do that. So I think economic wise, the market is basically saying we think it's going to work. right? They're betting ahead, but they're only betting in certain sectors. And if you follow those sectors, you can see why. Now, for example, travel, entertainment, retail, and leisure, if our TSA passenger numbers get back to a higher level, right, we were at the low of about like 60,000 passengers a day. I mean, I couldn't imagine. It's like so small. The normal is 2.5 to 2.6 million passengers a day. We're sitting at about 800,000 on a Sunday and Monday, which is your peak, right? That's not bad. We're a third there. I'm waiting for that to get to about 1.2 to 1.5 million. Then I know we're back, right? And you'll see that with confidence on a vaccine. You'll see that on confidence when people get an idea how to assess mortal risk. And we'll see that with, more job creation comes into play.
Well, there you have it, folks. I think we've seen Ray Wang 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If he had another hour, I think we could see the rest of the Ray Wangs.
4 is the assassin, so be careful, as Paul Greenberg says. You don't want to be shot. If R Wang 4 shows up, you're in trouble. So,
Ray, thank you so much. Always inspirational. Stay safe, stay healthy. Say hello to the family, and thanks a lot.
I will. Hey, Vinnie, and thanks. Keep up on the series. That's awesome. I'm glad you're doing something positive, getting people inspired. It's what we need.
Thank you.
Right now.
Thank you very much.